Alright guys, TouchGrub back again today, and here we are again. A new weapon has been added into the Call of Duty game, that being Modern Warfare, and of course, it's going to be GA'd by the professional players. You would imagine. Yesterday, the AN-94 and also a weapon called the ISO was introduced into the game with this new Season 5 Warzone update that came out over the last few days, and of course, it's been introduced to some degree into competitive play. Some of the players have been using it in scrims last night, and have pretty much decided maybe this weapon is too strong, and maybe this time it's for good reason. We've seen the RAM and, well, plenty of other weapons, the organ, the Uzi as such, being discussed so far this season. You know, pros call for a meta change early in the season, and then when weapons do become viable, they all get GA'd and it's just the M4 and MP5. Then again, given all the things that have been GA'd so far this season, I do kind of understand the fact that they might want to get rid of this one, given the fact that it's only a couple of weeks now till champs, and well, if they're going to ban all the other stuff for the rest of the season, at least gentlemen's agreement it and decide not to use it because things are too strong, then maybe this is the most viable of the case, due to the fact that it seems to be very strong as we will look at in the coming minutes here, but also it's just a couple of weeks till champs. People don't really want to change up what they're practicing with, but in scrims last night, people were definitely giving it a go, and who knows, right, if a team like Seattle or something like that, if, well, in a difficult spot in the tournament, of course, starting from a loser's bracket, as we'll look at in a video later today, maybe they want to pull it outright and give themselves the best possible chance to take down the trophy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you do, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. The CDL Scuff giveaway is still ongoing, only a couple of days left now. If you want to join in the fun, the link will be down in the pinned comment below. So with the update that they supposedly introduced a couple of days ago, well, supposedly they banned the Merc foregrip out of the game in the competitive settings. However, YK then says if you edit your class in-game, Merc is still there. So yes, and I believe suppressors as well. So if you edit your class mid-match, you can still put on Merc foregrip in the middle of the game. So fantastic stuff from Infinity Ward. We were talking yesterday about the fact that they fixed the start glitch and exactly what the, well, what is the catch with this update that's going to take things down to the lower level. And of course, this is one of them. The other one being that footsteps got even worse, as we did discuss in yesterday's video. So this is what they come out with. And yesterday we were talking at the end of the video about this mid-season event, exactly what that might mean. Are they going to have champs watchable in the stadium? But what I didn't really talk about is the new weapons added into the game. One of them being, of course, the AN-94. This is a weapon that we had back in the Black Ops 2 days, and it was just a fantastic weapon. Most people use the M8, but the AN-94 was definitely viable on certain situations and with certain attachments, quick draw stock. It was an absolutely fantastic weapon. So much fun to use in pubs as well with suppressor, stock, extended mags. That was the go-to for me. But yeah, superb weapon, really, really fun to use. They introduced it back into this game, and also the ISO has been getting some use as well, as we were looking at a second, but doesn't seem too viable. This is a clip from well, Merk Joey DeLuca's stream yesterday. I'll just put this on the big screen for you guys because, well, he's obviously playing Warzone, but the AN-94 definitely frying all the way across the map with this attachment combo he's got, and you can see the ISO in his back pocket as well.
Let's see. By the way, boys, I'm back on the Bruin.
Huh? Are you actually?
Yeah.
Grab around one.
You're that tilted, huh?
Yeah, I'm using the Bruin box to SMG to see if it's viable. Where's your dot from? Oh, there's a guy right there.
Yeah, top right. Dude.
Oh, nice.
The AN is insane.
So then we get this from Blast, of course, on the Los Angeles Guerrillas. He comes out with, I'm scrimming with new guns 2 weeks before champs. Clearly not particularly happy with that situation. And then he comes out a little bit later with this clip as well. So this is just kind of a clip of him throwing with the M4 in hand. And we don't seem to see, well, AN-94s on the map in this one. However, if you pay close attention to the bottom left-hand corner that we'll look at in a second, well, Vivid does seem to be using the ISO in this scrim. So maybe this was a little bit later in the day when they decided not to use the AN-94 anymore. But the ISO still getting some use, right? So we've had the Uzi in consideration, we've had the AUG in consideration, now it's the ISO potentially being used as well alongside the MP5, but doesn't seem to be too viable to my understanding, but who knows, right? Maybe things will switch up and we might get a new weapon into the meta. But as I've said, the pros have been so solidified in their metas that they want to be running the entire season long, and we've talked about all the issues with GAs, the fact that there isn't really like a solidified body that gets to decide what is a fair GA and what isn't, because if a weapon is like so dominant, it's going to dominate the entire meta and everyone's going to be using it, at that point, like, it's probably a fair GA, right? And we've seen this in previous titles with the IFTRA, for example, back in the World War II days. But, well, sometimes it just goes too far, right? And I think we've seen that a couple of times this season, and quite frankly, with these teams, well, pushing their will on other squads, because if you don't happen to agree to what they say, unlucky, you're blacklisted from scrims, and maybe we won't team with you in the future due to the ongoing grudge, I suppose, that some players might legitimately hold in that instance. We get this then on the big screen, so they were scrimming against Seattle, of course, and Vivid here is using this ISO at the top of the screen. At first, I thought this was just an MP5, but it's certainly the ISO, well, based on this previous graphic we looked at, and also from Merck's clip a little while ago. Then we get this from Arcites. The AN is nice. They were also scrimming Seattle last night. And well, I'll put this clip on the big screen for you guys as well. RCT's absolutely frying. I know a lot of these players are already weak, but well, the time to kill of this weapon up close is absolutely unbelievable, as we'll look at in a second.
Oh, he's flashed. One's like middle hop. Yeah, he's top. He was top row. Can you top of Satan? Obviously, guys.
McCray, Sam, one
shot our door.
I'm dead. Their door 2 amp. I flicked the door. I'm back at 4. 1 shot.
The fuck?
Top B2.
I'm trying to jump out, Scaff.
Down, they spawn green, go. That's 4 out, that's 4 out of the play. Go fast. Going fast.
I got
So Octane Sam comes back, yo, this AN-94 is something serious. I think Octane and RCTs were going back and forth with it in this scrim set, and RCT said, like, you know, when Octane stops using it, I'm going to stop using it as well. And I think they played a few maps before deciding, look, this gun is ridiculous, we're just going to not bother using it anymore. However, it doesn't seem like there's any official GA that's come into place yet. We haven't had a discussion from all the pro teams, and once again, we might have a situation where, well, the teams choose like a representative to go into a call, and they decide exactly what happens, and well, if 75% of people vote, that's kind of what it does. But of course, there's no official CDL sanctioning on any of this kind of stuff, and technically this is collusion, which it's interesting really, because when I looked at the CDL rules right at the start of the season, I looked more recently, but I couldn't find this line anywhere. But at the start of the season, the CDL rule set said like collusion will not be allowed between players, which I imagined would extend to gentleman's agreementing, because effectively you're not using weapons that you could use, and it's like an agreement between the teams not to do so, which technically I suppose is collusion in that sense, but doesn't seem to be a problem. And well, the teams are probably going to get rid of the AN-94, to be honest. And as you can see right here, this is how strong this weapon is. We looked at this the other day from the perspective of the RAM. This time it's the AN-94. This is what the M4 does in terms of time to kill, so kind of a composite measure between fire rate and also damage. This up close time to kill of the AN-94 is absolutely insane, like just above 0.1 seconds. This might be the fastest killing gun in the entire game, to be honest, at this range. Like, unbelievable at this close range engagements, and well, definitely seems to outclass the M4 in certain situations. It does have more difficult recoil to control, I believe, and this is only with certain attachments on it, but attachments which are allowed in competitive play. So yeah, certainly a consideration right now, and I imagine that a weapon like this, if it was to be allowed, would significantly change how the meta looks on the competitive side. And if that's the case, pros have been playing with M4, A1 and MP5 the entire season. When any other weapons have come along that could potentially be into competitive play, they've basically been GA'd out the scene, and the RAM people don't really seem to be using apart from Parasite. But Parasite, I do believe, managed to hold on to the RAM GA in the challenger side, hasn't really reached the competitive community as yet, and may well not do, given the AN-94 is now in discussion. But given the pros have managed to withhold all the other weapons, making it into competitive play the entire season, now we're only a couple of weeks away from champs. I highly doubt that they're going to let this one fly as well, with the AN-94 coming in. So I imagine it will get GA'd. In the next couple of days, we may see some discussion on this, but I highly doubt, to be honest, given what we've seen so far this season, that this is going to be permitted in competitive play. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, though, because definitely a very solid weapon, as we've looked at over the last few minutes. It would be nice to have it in competitive play. I think maybe it'll switch up the meta somewhat, and maybe we can have some ANs and some M4s, depending on the engagement. But if it turns out to be so good that it completely changes up the meta, and then maybe it's just like an AN-94 and MP5 meta instead of an M4 and MP5 meta, then what really have we achieved, right? In an ideal world, we have another weapon, kind of like the Black Ops 4 meta, when you've got a long-range AR, that being the ICR, you've got the kind of close-range flex weapon being the Maddox, and then you've got the SORG as the SMG. That's a great meta, I think, in my opinion, especially for a 5v5 play. So it would have been nice this season to get a weapon which adds into that category, right? Either as like a really long-range AR, but I do think the problem is, to some degree, with the M4s and all the attachments you can put on the weapon, you can basically change the M4 for whatever range you want to use it in, so it's kind of always going to be the go-to. And you can probably do the same for the AN-94 if it's better, just put different attachments on depending on what range you want to use the weapons at, and it's going to be very difficult to get into a 3-gun meta, as we've seen in previous games, which I think is better to watch. But as I say, if the AN-94 would just completely replace the M4, if it is allowed in competitive play, there's nothing really that we've achieved here, and I doubt the pros want to go down that route either. But once again, intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, to be honest, because it is an interesting discussion, and well, we've seen it so many times in the past this season. I do certainly hope that next season there is a better structure in place for the CDL to actually decide what is an appropriate GA and what is not, because I think some of the ones we've seen this season, such as the Uzi and the AUG to some degree, especially as FaZe were discussing it at the time, have probably gone too far. Maybe the AN, though, as we looked at this just a second ago, is just too strong this time around. Couple of things to finish off the video then here with, so we get this from Nameless. Well, Slasher is going to be on the CODcast this week. Definitely going to be looking forward to this one. Probably going to be some gold to talk about in a video from this as well. So Slasher's been talking about going on this CODcast for a while, and hasn't happened until this week. But yeah, that's coming very shortly indeed. Also get this as well, this came out from Rishi Chada at Twitter Gaming, talking about the most tweeted about games in the US. Call of Duty comes in number 2, just behind Animal Crossing, so yeah, unfortunate defeat from us, but still, Call of Duty still absolutely dominating the Twitter sphere, and well, Warzone has certainly helped with this one as well. Just to finish off the video then, we saw a couple of days ago from OGLA, they tweeted about Slasher versus Octane Sam, and Seattle then come back with their response today. We'll finish off the video and the outro with this. Thanks for watching as always. Like if you did enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Slasher, a Call of Duty staple. Not the well-known Slasher, the other one. The Slasher that gets 1v4'd by Octane.
And now it comes to Octane alone. Bomb goes down, Octane. Nice shots. He gets the second. Do the unthinkable. Octane. Unbelievable shots from the young man. LaRue with a knife. He gets it.
A robotic engineer grad turned Call of Duty champion. The man who uses that degree to engineer excuses for his team. 6 feet roll call? Easy, Slasher. I don't think so. Octane is a true Call of Duty icon. Producing hit content.
Again, truly, the things I do for content.
Show-stopping plays.
Octane is 31 and 13, 32, 33!
And unparalleled memes. This August, when champs start, throw your support around a real Call of Duty icon, a man of the people, the 6-foot human turd. We are the Seattle Surge. Time to drown them out.
My name is Samuel Octane LaRue, and I approve this message.